that's not how it is.
This is where people need information from Coach. They don't want me to bogart the meeting.
Well, you're going to do it anyway.
I'm
sure
I'll
okay.
step in at some point.
Yeah, and that's okay. Without further ado, we're going to welcome friend of the show, guest of the show, friend of ours, friend of Lloyd's.
Family.
Lloyd's best friend.
Extra seat.
The what?
It's an extra seat at the table.
Extra seat at the table just for Lloyd.
Table.
The recruiting coordinator is Lloyd, the recruiting master, number 1 recruiting class in the country. Coach Jay Johnson, welcome back to the show, Coach. It's been a minute, but we wanted to give you a little break from us, obviously from Lloyd specifically. You look great. Team looks great. They just announced that y'all are the number 1 recruiting class in the country this year. Congratulations. You've been on the recruiting trail very hard over the last, since you got to LSU or really your entire career. What does that say about you? That's back-to-back years that you've had some of the top recruiting classes in the country. What's that say about your staff and the guys that brought these guys in?
Well, I think it says a lot about LSU in general, that this is a place where the top players in the country want to be. And I think there's really a no weakness type deal to the recruiting here. When you look at the championship tradition, the great coaches, obviously spearheaded by Coach Bertman and what he established, the tradition of players, great players that have played here, that have ascended to not just Major League Baseball, but the top of Major League Baseball. Obviously, you're looking at Bregman is competing for the MVP. He's winning a Silver Slugger, Gold Glove every year. Nolan Gosman, always in the middle of the Cy Young conversation. DJ LeMahieu, borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion, in terms of the career he's had. And then obviously we got a lot of momentum, as a program right now, winning the national championship 15 months ago or 16 months ago, whatever it is. And, Paul, is going to win the Rookie of the Year in the National League, finalist for the Cy Young. Dylan, 14 months after playing college baseball, is up in the big leagues. And so a lot of good things happening right now, and that certainly helps in the recruiting efforts.
Let's talk about obviously the fall, right? The fall you can get a lot from it as a coach. Obviously the fans can see it in one way, but coaches look at it a little differently. When you bring in the number 1 recruiting class in the country, that brings competition, right? Competition is good for teams. Competition makes teams kind of rise to that next level. You had a lot of freshmen come in last year, get an opportunity to play, right? Kind of develop, and they come into year 2, and you'd imagine they take that next step. Well, you also had a really good recruiting class come in, and those freshmen and transfers are coming in there, and they're trying to earn a spot, right? Based off of what I've seen, read, listened to you talk about, it feels like there's 4 or 5 guys that you could put at shortstop, and you feel pretty comfortable with them playing there. There's about 7 guys you can throw out in the outfield that you feel pretty comfortable playing them there, and you get about 15 pitchers that you feel like that are going out there and that have been very competitive and very good on the mound. How has this fall been? And how have those competitions shaken out?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned competition, and I think of that movie, We Are Marshall, where I think it's Matthew McConaughey's the coach, and they're trying to put together like a whole new team. And he talks about competition breeding improvement. And I really believe in that. And I think we have a little better sense of what we have right now than we did a year ago. Obviously, the year before, 13 players drafted coming off a national championship. There was a little more uncertainty, question marks, if you will. But this year, we only have 12 returning players, from last year that actually played in a game for us. And so there's like 26 new players or something along those lines. And we really are much deeper. And I think that gives us a lot of options in terms of, the lineup and pitching staff and potential matching up down the road, all those types of things. So I'm excited about that. I think the other thing that's kind of only for me, it's not really relevant to your question, is because we have more depth, like I have a little bit better feel of who some players actually are, pitchers having to get really good hitters out, hitters, facing really good pitchers, and what type of at-bats do they take against the best guys. So I'm excited about that part of it. I think we have a little better indication. Like last fall, like the scrimmages were completely tilted towards the pitchers dominating.
Yeah.
And that was because we didn't have a ton of position player depth. Now I feel like we have both sides of the ball. Either team that you play on in the inter squad game has really good players. The pitching, can go deep through the weekend. And so I feel good about that part of it. And yeah, I mean, guys are looking around going like, hey man, you have to break it every single day or, you are replaceable. I think that's probably what I like about this team the most is you have to have superstar players to win. And I think we definitely have some capable superstar type players, but I don't feel like there's one player that is necessarily irreplaceable on our team or our pitching staff without somebody that could step in and do an adequate job. And so, yeah, the coaching staff's done a really good job of recruiting and developing guys. There's some guys that were here last year that are better now. And I'm excited about that. And we got a lot of work to do to see how it's all going to unfold. But very happy with how this team's approached fall baseball.
Coach, you speak about, by the way, good to see you. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you again. We speak about the recruiting and the development. I think when you have the absence that someone like this guy I'm about to mention has had, but he's had the ability to sit and speak with the Paul Skeens and be around these people and see how they go and to be able to develop and rehab and get back to how does Chase Shores look right now and how do you feel about him going forward? Because I would imagine this is a guy, if he is developing the way he should be at the top end of this thing and should be a big contributor this year.
Well, he's going to be a big contributor. There's no question about that. And, I think it was one of the more not talked about things, if you will, we didn't have him last year.
Right.
And we really struggled on Sundays in league play. If you look at the rest of it, it was a pretty normal year and in a lot of ways a good year, but we really struggled on Sundays. And this is a guy that was starting for us on Sundays early in the season, on one of the best teams in LSU history. And when he went down in April of 23, I really believed that team in 23, we could work our way through it. But I always had a pit in my stomach of what that meant for last year. Now, moving forward for this year, it's so good to see him back. And he's got a great arm. He looks like a major leaguer in terms of his body. He's moving great down the mound. He's throwing a ton of strikes and he's been up to 99 and is really working hard. And he has taken advantage of, having an opportunity to be around Paul that first year, but then also, to have him around now while he's working out. I see them talking all the time and always smile on my face when I see that because Chase has a lot of ability. I believe he's going to pitch in the major leagues, and we certainly missed him last year. And he's had a really good fall, and he's close. And when I say close, he's close to really, realizing his potential, which will be a great thing for our team.
Coach, staying on the pitching staff, you have 3 starters in the weekend. You have 1 midweek. But it seems like you have 4, 5, 6 guys potentially right now that you feel comfortable that could probably be in the starting rotation. Obviously, Chase Shores is a given, but you have Cade Anderson coming back. You have Anthony Ayenson in there. William Schmidt came in there. Gavin Gidger's been throwing multiple innings. I don't know if you have him as a potential starter or just a swing guy or a guy who's going to be able to be any type of role, type of pitcher. Zach Cohen came in. So you have a lot of guys that can be in that starting rotation. How do you navigate through that? And I think we've learned last year that you can't have too many starting pitchers because once you get into postseason play, that's a blessing to have guys that can go and throw game 5 and 6 when you need them.
Shout out Will Helmers.
Shout out Will Helmers.
That's his first drop in, by the way.
The legend.
I wish we would have won that game for a lot of reasons, obviously, but it did that was a heroic performance that, probably not going to get talked about enough and was awesome. As far as navigating the pitching staff and having multiple guys, every year is a little bit different, and our league is really tough to get through, in terms of guys getting into the 5th and the 6th inning. I mean, that's kind of one of the positive things about last year's Luke Holman, Gage Jump. They were really able to do that.
Yeah.
And, those 2 and Griffin Herring, those 3 guys, that was the strength of the team. No question about it. But I think there's better volume this year, and I know that to be true because, like I said, I don't think we're going to get tricked by somebody just getting a bunch of outs in the fall because we have more good position players. And so the pitchers are getting tested, in terms of having to navigate through, good hitters, no matter which side they're on or they're facing. They're having to make pitches. And we got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. And, you mentioned a few of them, that'll compete for those spots. Kate Anderson, had a very good freshman season last year and is ready to make a step forward, has made a step forward with his stuff, tightened up his breaking ball, getting more swings and misses on that. You mentioned Anthony Ianson, a guy we're really excited about, Zach Cowan. Both those guys threw a ton of innings last year. So they're actually done for the fall. We feel like we got where we wanted to with them. So they won't pitch here these last couple weeks. Those guys have started and have had success starting and bring something to the staff where, they can be used kind of in any type of role. You mentioned Gavin. We are looking at potentially starting him. He started the scrimmage on Sunday through 2 scoreless innings. He's had a lot of strikeouts throughout the fall here. He's done a great job with his body, did a good job in the off-season program. Went out and worked out at Driveline in Arizona, and he was, 93, 94 on Sunday, which is a tick up.
Yeah.
And still has the Dr. Death breaking ball and, good changeup. So we know he can do anything, and I really believe in his competitiveness. Connor Ware is a guy that has really pitched well this fall, and somebody that will definitely be talked about a lot as we get into the season, as a guy we feel good about. And the freshman pitchers they're good. They're really good. Yeah. And we're in a really good spot with, William Schmidt, Kason Evans, Maverick Rizzi, Cooper Williams. So really excited about those pieces. And
feels like you got a basketball team on the mound. Feels like you got 2-6. You feels like you have a basketball team on the mound. You have Rizzi's 6'9", Chase Shore 6'8". You got a monster pitching staff.
Yeah, we're not recruiting any pitchers that look like me or Lloyd.
Coach, I'm still working on the knuckler. If you need me, I still got eligibility.
Yeah, Jay, you got something?
Yeah, Coach. No, go ahead.
No, changing speeds. Have to do that.
Coach, I was going to ask you, look, I know you're an offensive guy, so I think that this question will hit home with you a little bit. Because there's so many external factors about playing at LSU, and then obviously what being a college kid is in 2024, 2025, it's completely different than it was when we were in school and obviously than when you were in school. Having someone like Bear Jones back in the middle of your lineup who is that kind of a presence where you don't probably feel like because when you have a lot of other kids coming in who may be somewhere mixed in the middle of that lineup where they feel like maybe they have to do a little more to kind of announce themselves as here as opposed to just, hey, fit in and we'll figure it out as it goes. Having him back in the middle lineup, how much more sleep are you able to get at night? And is he possibly mixing somewhere else around the diamond as the season goes?
Yeah, it was a big deal to get him back. Shortly after we finished up, I actually flew out to Georgia to sit with him and his family, and he loves being at LSU. And I thought, he was missed on in the draft in terms of his value. Thank God, because I am really happy to have him back. And, on top of that, he's done a really nice job trying to take some leadership responsibilities, because that's really important, as you guys know, and something that maybe we were lacking a little bit, and you can't force it.
Yep.
You can't force it. It just doesn't work that way. And he said something that was pretty interesting to me is he wanted to take on one of those roles and be on a team that got back to Omaha, competed for a national championship with him kind of at the forefront. And I'm like, dude, you hit 14 homers and batted 300 on a great team. And, he wasn't in there, in the postseason per se, but he was pretty much for the entire regular season. But I'm glad he felt that way. And, I think you can't help but feel his presence, in the box or, in the on deck circle if you're the opposing team's pitching coach. You know, he's one of those guys that can change the game every time he gets to the plate. And I think he's improved as a hitter. I mean, he had quite a day on Sunday. Like it was really impressive. You know, I mean, it was a backside home run to right field, and then it was a 3-0 bases loaded. Obviously, gave him the green light, he didn't try to do much. He just stayed short and smashed one 442 feet. Well, then the very next at bat, he hits a ball that it's a low liner, hits the back of the infield grass, and I mean, roll all the way to the fence just about, you know, like, and that shows a lot of improvement as a hitter to be able to stay within yourself like that. So I'm proud of him, and, you know, he's continuing to get better, and that's good for all of us.
Lloyd.
Yeah, two-parter here, Coach. First of all, I saw you got recognized on the field for the LSU-Alabama game. What was your mind state going to that? Because was it going the best for the football team? Were you expecting – were you like, oh, God, please get a first down, touchdown, anything before I go out here? And then I'll follow up with the next question.
Yeah, you guys seem to be experts on LSU football from what I hear. I will tell you, like, I was, like, late getting out there, but, like, as I was walking out there, like, Jalen Milroe was flying right by me, like, for the first touchdown of the game. And I was like, wow, that's what real speed looks like. And, I would not want to play them from this point forward, you know, with that dude playing quarterback. It's kind of like what we had going, you know, last year with Jaden Daniels. And, you know, tough game, but, you know, a lot of faith in our football team and the coaches. I've spent some time over there, you know, with them, and they're on track as far as, you know, recruiting and developing and planning. And I'm excited to see those guys keep us getting better and finishing the year strong.
Feel free to throw any input in for the run game. I know you average about 10 yards a carry in high school, so if you want to help them get going, you might be that guy. But on a real note,
I mean, Caden Durham is a little faster than I was.
Keep me between the guard and tackle. How much does an environment like that, though, help with recruiting for the baseball side? And absolutely diabolical to make your LSU baseball team go play on Sunday after the Alabama game.
I thought you would like that one.
I would have missed the bus, Coach.
Yeah, so the atmosphere, like, you know, this is my 4th year here now, so it's not new. But every time, like, the pregame and the energy in the stadium, like, you're always standing there going, like, this is, like, the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then on Saturday night, prior to the game, that was, like, on another level. Yeah, I mean, and really, really awesome. And it really helps us in recruiting. We have 2 of the best players in the country that were here that aren't committed yet anywhere, that will sign with somebody here. And I know that has a super positive impact on us. Yeah, as far as the fall game at Louisiana Lafayette the next morning, like, I actually was trying to get that worked out to do it next week, but I think, like, us in Florida are the only 2 schools in the country still having fall baseball going on right now, or at least on this side of the country. So, you know, to be able to play somebody else, that was kind of our last shot, last crack. And then, you know, I mean, I'm all for challenging mental toughness, and
no doubt.
I thought our guys handled it great.
That's 100% a mental toughness game.
Gavin Gidry was up there sweating on the mound.
Yeah, no, they played good out the chute, and I'll be honest, like, you know, I don't even have to play, and we got to about the 4th inning of that second game, and, like, I felt like I got, you know, hit in the face with a freight train or something. So
that's a lot of innings.
Yeah, I think it's good for our guys, like, in the sense that, yeah, it's not ideal, but you don't get to choose your circumstances all the time, especially playing in the SEC. So hopefully it's an experience, you know, we can draw from during the season, and, you know, everybody else can just chalk it up to we got a little bit of a crazy head coach.
No, I think that's going to bode well, because they don't put asterisks by those things. You know what I mean? That's what we were always told. They don't put asterisks by a game just because something didn't go the way you want it to go. But let's get back to the team. There's a question I want to ask a little earlier about, you know, you have a lot of newcomers. I think one of the biggest positions that has probably the biggest question mark at it is the catching position, right? You talk about the leadership. You lost the leader in Milazzo, who was about as good as it gets defensively. You lost another leader back there in Travinsky, and you don't have the experience. You don't have the guys coming back right there at the catching position, but you bring in a very talented recruit in Aaron Beatty, and you bring in a talented transfer in Blake Priester, who's been swinging the bat really well this fall. So what's your thoughts on the catching position, and how are those guys kind of adapting to the staff and the adjustments of SEC caliber pitching?
Yeah, great question. Very excited with where we sit today, relative to, you're losing, Milazzo and Travinsky last year. So, not having any returning innings back at that position, that was obviously, weighing on my mind. But as we sit today, really couldn't be happier. I think the sign of a good catcher defensively is almost like the umpire. If you don't notice them, they're doing a great job. Yeah. And, from a receiving blocking standpoint, they've really improved throughout the fall. Coach Jordan has done a really good job with those guys. But the 2 fall games against Samford and Louisiana Lafayette, we've had very, very little drama behind the plate, and they're all throwing everybody out. We've thrown out 7 or 8 guys over the two games. And that's, 2 teams that, run good styles of offense and are pretty aggressive. So very excited. 3 of them have kind of emerged towards the front. Luis Hernandez, transfer from Indiana State, has had a really good fall, is hitting as advertised, but, is really doing a good job behind the plate. So excited about Aaron Beatty, and he's so talented. He's a little closer to ready to make a positive impact than you would think at that position at this level. And when I say at this level, I mean the top of the SEC, which is the top of college baseball. He's had a really, really impressive fall. And then you mentioned Blaze has hit some homers, and obviously has a really good throwing arm too. So I think we're in a good spot, and those guys just have to kind of keep getting better over the break. But they've developed a lot of trust in the pitchers and the pitching staff, and really happy with where we sit today as far as the catching position.
Coach, I would say let's keep going around the diamond right here, but I'm going to get a little bit off the diamond and ask about the stadium and the renovations.
Because we've been asked this a million times. I can't imagine how many times you've been asked
this. So I don't really know much about it. So I wanted, how is the renovations? What all has happened? Is there a phase 2? When's the dome coming? Just update us on it all. Let us know where we're at.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. We added a bunch of premium seats down both foul lines.
Oh, good to know.
It looks good. I think it's going to be an awesome place for people to watch the game. It definitely is going to impact the game. There's a lot less foul territory. And so there's a lot of foul balls now.
Good.
Foul balls that go out of play.
Batting average is going to fly through the roof right here. I like it.
It should improve a little bit, for sure. I think the ability to get strikeouts from your pitching staff and the ability to play defense is going to be really important. Yeah. And then your ability to hit with 2 strikes and put the ball in play and take advantage of some of that has shown to be really, really important. So I don't really know. We got the bullpen, the formatting of the bullpen done. There's still a lot of work to get it enclosed, and you're going to do I think we're putting in a new fence. But I leave that to Dan Gass and his crew to figure all that stuff out.
Okay. That's good to know.
So no dome this year. That's not coming this year.
Yeah, I've been working on that one, but that doesn't seem to be on anybody else's wish list. But
it's not on the short list.
No, I think it's not. It's way down the list. It's all right. It'll happen one day.
Make the new baskable arena bigger.
One day.
There.
It's hot as hell.
Coach, last question about the team, and then I'm going to let you go. I appreciate your time. Over the course of your time here, obviously you've had a bunch of different structures of teams, right? You had, a team came in your first year, and you're just trying to kind of figure out who was who and what they're going to do. 2023, you had a team that was full of guys that could hit the ball over the fence and drive the ball. You didn't really need to do a lot of things on the bases other than say, hey, go out there and swing it. Veteran team, talented team, and you had the arms that you had on the mound. Last year was kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, trying to figure out everything. This year it feels like, just from the outside looking in, that outside of the depth, not just with the depth that you have, it's a different type of team as far as athleticism goes. Feels like they're a little bit more a little bit faster. They're a little bit more explosive running the bases. That's just what it looks like for me. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, and is that going to be incorporated in kind of the game plan, the strategy of this year's team?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you have to kind of play to what you have.
Right.
And the style of play, what we want to be able to do is do whatever we need to do to win. And I think when you look at that 23 team, obviously we hit 144 homers. I think that's the third most in school history. But the strike zone discipline on that team was phenomenal. Like, we just destroyed our opponents in terms of free bases. And it made those homers really count. And then you had solid hitting skills where you could take advantage of it with runners in scoring position. But we couldn't run because it's like I'm not sending Cade Beloso to steal. You know what I mean? I'm not sending Stravinsky to steal. I mean, Dylan could have stole more, but you're talking about the most valuable player you could ever have. And one stolen base for me was never worth the shortstop step on his hand and that sort of deal. Same thing with Trey Morgan, who kind of was nursing a leg injury the whole time too. So, that was kind of what it was. I mean, last year, I did not love our offense last year because it was kind of homer or nothing. And that's the opposite of what I believe in as a coach. You have to be able to hit first and then develop into power to be really, really good.
Right.
And I think we're much more designed that way this year. And you're right on the speed and the athleticism, which rears its head in a lot of ways. First off, on defense, I'll use Chris Stanfield, transfer from Auburn. I mean, he made a play in center field in the first inning of the game on Sunday that is a big league play. It's like a Torrey Hunter, back in the day type play. And it was the value of a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
And so the speed helps on the defensive side of it. You can steal more bases that way, but then the other impact of easily being able to go first to third, advance 2 bases at a time, the bunting game. We hit 4 homers in the first game the other day, but we also laid down 4 bunts, 2 of which ended up being hits because, Derek Carriel did one. He can really run, on the field. And then Danny Dickinson can really run. Somebody else had a bunt hit in there that I'm missing. But I think we got a chance to be a complete offense. And that's kind of how I made my way as a coach. It wasn't really until I got to LSU where it was hey man, we can hit the ball over the fence a lot, So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And because not just because I want to play a certain way, it just, when you're versatile, it impacts the game in a positive way on both sides of the ball. So I think we're showing a lot of aptitude, and probably the best thing our position players have done is what we've put into this point. We've shown a really good aptitude to be able to do it. And so I feel like we're pretty close to a good point to give them a little break and line them up some things for their individual development and then come back ready to roll in January.
Last one for me, Coach. You obviously ended up playing a lot of young guys last year. How much do you think that experience will kind of transfer over to this year where you had a guy, you had Milam, you had Jake Brown, all these guys that kind of stepped up and inserted themselves to being starters? How much do you think that helps going into this year where you have, obviously, transfers come in, but you have that base of experience that you got last year?
Yeah, I think to have a great team and to have a great program, you want to have all phases of it clicking. For me, if I could do it where it was just, hey, you're bringing in guys and they're staying for 4 years and you're developing them, that's always the way I would choose to do it. And so, Ashton Larson, getting to play and contribute as much, Steven getting to play and contribute as much, and Jake, same thing. That will be really, really valuable, along with Jared, getting into a third year. Josh Pearson's been here for 3 years. We didn't have hardly any of that experience returning. So even though we only have 12 returning players, a lot of those guys got a lot of time and had good success. So that really helps. And then you mix those guys with some super, high-end freshmen, and I'm really excited about our freshman class on both sides of the ball. Like they can really, really make an impact for this year and in the coming years, and should be like the foundation of this thing going forward. And then, the portal guys, you can get a lot of them, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. And, I'm very confident, like we picked a lot of the right guys that will add a dynamic and blend well in ability and chemistry to give us the type of team that can compete at the top of the league, which is, it's not easy to do. Like, it's just, you look around, and if you were to ask me what I like so far, I like the balance of our team. You look at some teams around the league, like Florida's going to have a ridiculous offense. Like, we don't play them, but they're going to have a ridiculous offense. Arkansas is like 9 guys throwing 100 or something like that. Like, so they're going to really, really pitch well. A&M's got all those returning players. It's kind of like the balance of what we have, and I think we're going to be able to win in different ways. And I like how the guys are going about their business at this point in time.
Well, Coach, we share in that excitement. Obviously, baseball season is really not that far away. You get the holidays, and then you get back, and it's really kind of getting ramped up for February. You said you have a couple weeks left, obviously, into the fall. You have some scrimmages this weekend, and then you have, I guess, the Purple and Gold World Series. If people want to go and watch y'all play, what is the schedule like here coming up? Obviously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then what's after that?
Yeah, so this weekend we have Coach Wanaka and Jamie Tutko. It's the Chief, which is what we call Coach Wanaka, and Jamie World Series. So they drafted teams last night. Really good draft.
Nice.
And part of it is we have more depth.
Yeah.
And so I think the teams are pretty even. So honestly, I think this is the weekend you want to come out and watch. 4:30 on Friday. And then I think it's noon on Saturday and Sunday. Like, this is the weekend you want to watch. We will do the Purple and Gold World Series, but it's kind of starting to shift to maybe like a 2-game, shorter game type deal as we do what's best for some pitchers and those kinds of things. And like I said, I like where we're at. Feel good about, the health of the team, what we've got accomplished. And, we got a couple weeks or 10 days, whatever, that we can do some stuff. And this weekend will be a good weekend. It'll be highly competitive, and this is the weekend to come out. And I think it would really help our team. We played the two fall games on the road, because of the renovation stuff. And, if you want to get out and see us, this is a good time. And it's always good for our players to play here with fans in the stands.
Who went first overall?
Who went first? Luis Hernandez went first
overall.
Big swinger.
In the draft, it was a very interesting draft strategy. So I'm going to sell him out a little bit. Coach Tutko was trying to corner the market on catchers, and then Coach Wanaka gave it right back to him with infielders. And then there was big pitching trades at the end. I mean, it was good.
Wow. Is there any wager like the loser gets or does or has to do anything? Like, maybe, I don't know, enter into like a bodybuilding contest or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, maybe like a swimsuit calendar.
Yeah. There we go.
Our players, they would love that now. So we got to come.
No doubt. Well, Coach, we're gonna come out there for at least one game. I'm gonna be out there either Saturday or Sunday. Come and watch y'all play. No, I really am. I've been meaning to go out there. Weather's kind of been a little. Y'all can't put asterisk by it, but I can put an asterisk by it when the weather's bad in the fall. I'm not going out there. I'll follow it from the internet. But we appreciate your time as always. We'll have you on obviously a lot more frequently as the season gets closer to us. And good luck the rest of the way.
Cool. All right, guys. See you soon.
All right, Coach. See you. Boy, I'm fired up for baseball season. They're gonna be good.